Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and we're about to showcase 30 quick steps that I think that you probably should hopefully know if you're about to play Core Keeper. I've done a lot of videos about Core Keeper so far. I just haven't touched base on any type of beginner stuff. So, of course, you can see our massive base that we have here and how much stuff we've already done. But how did we get there, and what do I wish that I knew when I started out? So let's go ahead and showcase them individually. Now, of course, there's probably a ton of other things that I could add to the list, and I'm also going to showcase what's about to change. So I might talk about something real quick and explain that the patch notes that just got released today most likely will change them. That being said, we'll find out in the future. However, these are some of the things that I wish that I knew from the beginning, and of course, I hope that they help you. They're kind of like little easy tricks here and there. I've been asked to do a beginner's guide, which I'm slowly working on in the background alongside of my hardcore game that I'm also working on. So I have a lot of Core Keeper content coming in. It's just that I'm just slowly putting it out because I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure things are done right and that I don't miss anything. So let's start out with what I wish that I knew when I first started. Okay. I wish that I knew about this none other than the Autosort. So if you have your inventory open and everything's all mismatched and misplaced and double-clicked and triple-clicked, press R, everything will autosort in a complete automatic way as the game intended to. Of course, or will be next to each other, so on, so on, so on, so on. So that's right, press R. Now, if you want to, this is also part of what I just showed you. You can highlight or pick up your items, hold right click and just drag across to drop one. Of course, you can hold shift and cut it in half, or click to cut in lower halves into tens individually. So that just is something that I wish that I knew as well. Walking around and placing torches and having them in your hotbar, not useful. Hold shift while a torch is anywhere in your inventory, just like you would in Terraria, and of course you can magically just make it appear in front of you. Map updating by making the little desk will make it so anybody that clicks the map who has explored further than you or different than you on the map, it'll auto update. One thing you should know about this though is that if you do press the map consistently or simultaneously, or if somebody's spamming it in the game, this is something that will consistently ping and update the server. So just make sure that they're not doing that, because I've had a friend that that was just playing around with it, and sure enough, it did lag a little bit. So just be cautious about that. Walking on turfs using bridges. Now, this is something that a lot of people probably will get used to as time goes on. Always keeping a few wooden bridges on you is definitely essential, because taking wooden bridges can mean the difference between walking across something that you can't get across anymore, or a matter of actually replacing a floor like the slime, for example, the slime floor, or the mold biome or the poison biome. Completely replace it with wood bridges, and you'll never have an issue ever again walking on that and having that effect hit you. You can have an endless soundtrack. That's right. If you enjoy the Core Keeper soundtrack, you can go directly to Core Keeper's YouTube page. I also have a video that showcases that link, which I'll also put in the description as well. And in there, you can basically just go right to Core Keeper on YouTube, and then bam, just have the entire video consistently play all the time. And honestly, I like it. I like having the natural music, but sometimes if audio does cut out, I will say that this is something that they're working on as well. So here's hoping that they get to that very fast, because I love the soundtrack in Core Keeper. Labeling chests. How do you label chests? Well, you can paint them, or you could also put little tiny things next to them. You get little pedestals here, and you place an item that resembles that on top of it, and that way you know what is in what. Another option is also, of course, making an auto-sorting farm, which I'm going to be showcasing in another video as well. How hard is the rune song to get? Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about before. The rune song is extremely hard to get. Now, what am I talking about a rune song? It's a legendary weapon in Core Keeper. It's the only legendary weapon. It comes from this rune parchment that the second NPC is able to give you, and it has a clear gemstone that is required to get from none other than the stone biome, from either the labyrinth or from these areas over here. So be careful, because unfortunately they are hard to find. Some people have had a better chance than I have, but so far I've had nothing of a problem. So I spent about 9 hours looking for it. I still have another hour in me trying to find it. So as it stands, I still have not found the clear gemstone. If you find the clear gemstone, you're extra lucky. If you haven't, I might not spend the time searching for it, because it's not necessary to use that in order to continue on down the road. But of course, a legendary weapon is a legendary weapon. Spikes for every 3 bosses. We'll talk about that in a second as I showcase exactly why spikes are so important. If you want to see why, you can look at my previous videos where I've showcased how to kill the 3 bosses using spikes. And spike traps are essential for killing the Devourer in an easy way. Now, once you kill the Devourer, you also get the ability to teleport anywhere you want using a recall idol. My guess is that if you don't know what a recall idol is, it's just something that you're going to be needing in the future if you are out in the wild and Core Keeper. If you're all the way at the top and you use a recall idol that only requires 1 ancient gemstone and 1 mechanical part, it lets you teleport all the way back to your home base, directly back here, and you're able to just, return here, and you can continue to make more. And trust me, there's lots of ancient gemstones and lots of mechanical parts out there to find, and sometimes you can even just buy them from the NPC. That being said, keep your tin. If you haven't kept your tin, make sure that you maintain it, because spike traps are the best thing that you can actually get from here. So honestly, if you don't have spike traps, you're going to want to get them, because like I said, the first, second, and third boss are really essential for spike traps. Now, you can do it your own way and use your own utility, but in my honest opinion, I seriously think that spikes are the best way for doing that. Save the giant mushrooms and the amber. If you don't know about where the giant mushrooms are, they're found in anywhere where you can find basically types of mushrooms, which is all on the dirt biomes, and that's basically the first part that you start out. You might find a gigantic mushroom just sitting there in the wild. As soon as you mine it, you will see a thing in your inventory that shows up in green down here that says giant mushroom acquired. As soon as you have it, it's going to tell you that you're going to max out your HP to 25, meaning max out, as in like it's going to add 25 permanent XP. However, it also says can be cooked. What I haven't done yet is combine the magic giant mushroom with none other than a amber larva, which is also found in this area over here in the stone biome. So if you find the amber larva and you find the giant mushroom and you're able to combine them, well, you're probably in it to win it, because I would love to see what kind of recipe it comes up with. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it. I might do another world just to showcase it. But yeah, they both combine. The amber gives you plus 50 and the mushroom gives you plus 25. So here's hoping that them combined would give you none other than a legendary ingredients, but I don't know exactly what type of food it would end up making. Now, another thing that I would probably want to comment a little bit on is wood. Now, if you're searching through Core Keeper, you know how important wood is. Wood is basically required for making any basic utensils, for making any basic requirements, for tools and everything that you need to make in Core Keeper. Of course, you need wood consistently in order to make pretty much anything, so you're going to want to always have wood on you. But the problem is that sometimes it's hard to get wood, especially if you're new to the game. So you can do one of two things. Wood is easy to find. Once you find wood, obviously chop it up, get it all. You can use a pickaxe for it so you don't deteriorate any other weapons. And they've actually fixed that in the patch, which is awesome. Or you can do what we have done, and later in the game, this is not early in the game, you can make yourself a wood farm using drills. Set up a few drills, set up a little bit of seeds in the middle, and then automatically have wood consistently be put inside of a chest as time goes on. This is late game. I wouldn't really be focusing on this at all, but this is something to look forward to, knowing that wood is fairly endless. Just make sure that you get yourself a nice little wood farm by getting yourself the nice little tiny root seeds. And root seeds are pretty easy. You just got to make sure that you don't combine them next to each other. So for example, if I took a root seed and I put it right here and another root seed here and another root seed here, you're defeating the purpose of a tree growing. As you can tell here, the roots need to grow outwards. So that is just something to look forward to when you're making a tree farm. Next, what is the cheapest way for making scrap? Now, if you don't know what scrap is in Core Keeper, you obviously scroll down over to your little repair station, and it's going to tell you want to repair or you want to salvage something. So I want to take this wooden shovel, make a scrap piece. Scrap parts are now made, and then I can go ahead, click on the repair, and repair anything I want with that one scrap part. I will say this is something that the devs are already in the process of changing. As I'm making this video, they are already changing this. So I probably won't touch on it too much, but if I were you, if you see this video, make as many scrap parts as you can right now, because who knows how hard they're gonna end up being in the future. Ore deposits do disappear. What do I mean by that? As you're venturing out into the wilderness, you're going to find different ore deposits, whether you find your scarlet ore, you find gold ore, you find iron, or these big deposits, and when you click on them, it says, this might need a drill in order to take care of this. Well, that's what you need to do. You need to take the drills, the ones that you just saw at the auto farm, surround it on the little ore deposits. So little ore deposits here. You put drills around here, and then let the drills do the work. That is late game, of course, but just know that they do disappear. One thing that we accidentally did was we used all of our, not that the drills were, you know, that expensive to make, but we did use them all. We surrounded it, and eventually they disappeared. The good thing about Core Keeper, though, is you can take those items and relocate them anyways, so it's not like they're useful, or they're not like they're useless after if you have to destroy them for any reason or relocate them. One thing to memorize is that NPC stations, aka little homes, can't be bigger than 8 times 8. So they can be 2 times 2, but not bigger than 8 times 8. When I talk about 8 times 8, I'm talking 8 tiles by 8 tiles. So just remember that if you don't want your NPC to not show up. So just something that we actually realized right away. We knew about it. We managed to, you know, do it right the first time. But I have seen gigantic homes be done, a little NPC room set up, and it's like, oh no, the NPC is not showing up. So you just got to make sure of that. Larva destroy torches. What do I mean by that? If you put a torch on the ground, any torch for that matter, doesn't matter what it is, and a larva runs over, not these, those are little slimes, a larva will make the torch completely be like this, where it's just floating in the air. How do you get around that? By planting none other than these beautiful little glow flowers. Now, if you don't want to plant the glow flowers, obviously it's more tedious, but you know, just remember that torches are obviously going to eventually be brought up, especially if the larvae are out there in the wild. When you die, you keep all your stuff in your hotbar. What do I mean by that is when I'm fighting a boss for any reason or anything, if I'm in the wilderness and I die, I will keep everything that's in my hotbar unless I'm playing in hardcore mode, which your character will completely be lost. In normal mode, all your hotbar stuff will remain. Your inventory will not. What do I mean by that? Keep the most important things in your hotbar. So if you think that you don't want to have to, say if I die all the way down here and I don't have a recall idol on me, well, I don't want to be losing my minecart every time, so keep your minecart in your main inventory. So on and so on and so on and so on. So just something to keep in mind. Obviously, you know, to each their own, everyone has their own setup, but just something that I wish I would have known. People can also pick up your stuff too. So if you die and somebody were to accidentally hit your tombstone, well, unfortunately, they're going to be picking up all your gear. So just be careful about that if you're fighting with people. Not to say they're going to take anything, but sometimes they accidentally might not realize what they have in their inventory if they've destroyed your tombstone. Remember, bombs do not do a lot of damage. So unfortunately, there's small bombs, big bombs, and like the giant bombs, but each of them don't do that much damage, especially to mining. So I went through the process of taking a bunch of these and just placing them all through the mines, and unfortunately at first they didn't really do too much damage. I have heard that the bombs are eventually going to get a small rework, so here's hoping that they do, but know that bombs do work somewhat against bosses, so that is something to look forward to. Always keep enough to make a workbench and a repair station on you. So what I always make sure that I do, always have enough wood, which wood's really easy to keep. You just keep it over here. You make a little basic workbench, and then you can easily make yourself a little repair station for repairing stuff. Now, as I mentioned before, the repair station, aka salvaging, is going to be changed in the future. So unfortunately, this might not be something that you're going to be doing. However, it's always nice to always keep a workbench on you because you never know if you have to make yourself a wood bridge or a cooking pot on the go or a furnace on the go. Of course, if you decide to do that, you're going to make sure that you have to keep dirt walls on you at the same time. But just always make sure that you have enough wood on you is probably my main recommendation. Remember that X marks a spot. If you're looking around on the map anywhere and you see a tiny little X, you can't see anything here. These are obviously little cracks in the walls and the flooring. But if you look around and you see a tiny little X anywhere, I can't really find any right now, it'll be a clear indication that it's an X. You take your little shovel, which you can make by, of course, none other than keeping your little tiny little basic workbench on you. And when you get yourself the little X marks a spot, dig it up using the shovel, and you potentially could get something pretty valuable. So just remember about that. Now, teleportations are great as well. So as I mentioned before, if you do have a chance to kill the Devourer using the spike method that I told you about, always keep more than one recall idol on you. As I mentioned before, they're amazing to have, but you kind of always want to make sure that you have more than one. So keep your gemstones and your mechanical parts on you at all times, if possible that it is. Now, basing near water can sometimes be a little bit difficult depending on your world seed that you get, so try to base somewhat near water. We got really, really lucky, and as you can tell, waters came to us, but this is sometimes not something that happens at all times. So try to base somewhat near water so your plants and everything could get a little bit better water access, but of course, you know, you could always bring water to yourself too if need be. Keep your tin. As I mentioned before, tin is very, very, very important. It is required to make pretty much most important gear, and especially when it comes down to making your spike traps, you're going to need a lot of tin. Not to mention railway systems as well. So just always keep a lot of tin. I always recommend if you have tin on you, keep it, don't use it, don't waste it. Just make sure that you have a lot of it, and always try to mine it if you can. Same goes for any resource, but tin especially. Full sets are also powerful. So if you look at your glow rings and everything that you use, you're going to see a little indication that is yellow that showcases, what is what and what happens when all 3 items or the full set is basically acquired. And that is something to look forward to because, of course, if you have, like I said, the Scarlet Pants, Scarlet Chest, and Scarlet Hat, our head armor, now you're killing enemies increases critical chance by 3% and stacks up to 5 times. So that being said, you're now stacking up to 15% crit damage, and you're doing quite a lot more than you were originally. But of course, like I said, you have to have the full set. That doesn't necessarily mean that the full set is better than anything else out there, because of course you see I found the Hunter Cloaks in that, and that gives me 50% critical hit chance after standing still for a short period of duration. So that being said, it depends on what you like and what you end up liking and what combination you end up choosing as well. But that is something that obviously going forward as time goes on, you're going to find different types of sets, different types of rings, different types of amulets, etc., etc. And of course, it depends on how you want to make your character look. In the end, it's always important to have fun. I do think that everyone has their own way of playing Core Keeper. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to follow everyone's tips and tricks on how to do things, but of course, it is something that I always found that I wish I would have known half the things that I mentioned here, and there's still more to learn too. So keep in mind that Core Keeper is just the beginning of learning such an awesome game with such an awesome community. And of course, if you have anything that you would suggest, feel free to link it or show it down in the comments, because I'm always interested in knowing what people use for the first little bit. Now, of course, I'm going to be working on my beginner guides now as much as I can to kind of showcase exactly what I do at the beginning, but right now I am working really hard on my hardcore run. I'm trying to get as far as I can, and that takes a long time because the hardcore runs are very, very, very difficult. So as time goes on, I'll try to release a nice beginner guide. But I hope that these tips and tricks also did you well. 30 of them are it's quite a lot. I didn't really want to go through too much stuff and confuse you too much. I hope I didn't. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll reply as fast as I can. I hope to see you in the next video, and enjoy the rest of your day.